Welcome. My name is Marisa. Thank you for joining me on your mat. I encourage you through this yoga practice. I'm here to guide you. So I want you to be open to the practice and listen to your own body. Take time and modifications where necessary. I encourage you as well, if you need to, you want to be sure that you have something for underneath your knees if you have knees that are tender. So either bringing in an extra toweling or doubling up a mat. I hope you have a mat available for your practice. If you don't, that's okay too. Please work in bare feet if you can. That's really going to be helpful so that you don't slip and slide. So it's very important that you be mindful of that as well. And if you have some blocks at home, then please bring your blocks and use your blocks. We're going to use those, and they help to bring the earth closer to you. If you have a strap, then I encourage you as well to use a strap if we do use a strap, or if you need to use a strap for an extra stretch or whatever we may be doing in the class. If you don't have one, then please use what you have. So that could be a towel, that could be a tie, a men's tie, or even a long scarf. So there's always ways to incorporate your props, your yoga props, with things that you have at home. Just be safe and think about what you're going to use in order to do that. So join me. Let's get started with our yoga practice today. Today we're going to work towards building strength and balance. So let's take a couple of shoulder shrugs to begin. And my name is Marisa. And once again, I'm so glad that you joined me on your mat. I'm going to get you to close your eyes. Sitting in this position, whatever is comfortable, that cross-legged position, whether you are seated, propped up on a pillow or a block to try and bring the hips higher than your knees, especially if you have tighter hips. You may notice that your knees are floating away from the floor, and if they are, then that's why you want to prop your hips and be seated a little higher than that. Start to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, encouraging that breath in. Let us let go of all of those outside distractions that may be depleting us from our strength and our balance throughout the day. So just take notice of your breath. Breathing in through the nose and out through your nose, maybe even going so far as to try and constrict the back of your throat slightly, creating that ujjayi sound, the breath of yoga. It's an audible sound that you may only hear yourself. It doesn't have to be loud. The sound of a seashell, Darth Vader sound, you may have heard it as that term. Cultivating that breath of fire, coming back to the breath throughout your practice. Help to energize your body. Just a few more conscious breaths here, allowing your shoulders to release down, lengthening your spine long. Just even noticing the rise and fall of the belly and the chest. And I always try and begin practice by inviting in an intention. If that works and calls out to you, then start to think about what that intention might be for you. Something as simple as just trying to find some more balance today. Breathe that in and breathe that out. Take the arms up and overhead, bringing our palms together and hands to your heart center. And again, reflect on that intention if you set one. If you didn't, that's okay too. It's your practice. And slowly release the eyes open, take the arms up and overhead. We're going to start with some sun breaths for our practice. As you inhale, bring the arms up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, we lengthen. And exhale, we center. 2 more here. 1 more. Hands to the heart. Let's interlace our hands, bringing the palms so they face towards me. Extend those arms. Roll your shoulders onto the back. Extend those arms all the way up if you can. Maybe slightly micro-bending and softening your elbows. Getting a good stretch of those arms and those fingers. And then if you can, let's tip over towards the right. And then come back to center and over towards the left. We want to stretch out the body before we begin any strength or any balancing. Make sure the body is warm, our joints are ready and able. Coming back to the center. We're going to take our arms and interlace them behind the nape of the neck. And then open up those elbows wide. And then draw the elbows together. Curl in. Draw the navel back, the chest back. Inhale, you lengthen. Exhale and curl. Inhale and expand. And let it go. A little bit of resistance with those elbows as they draw in towards one another, creating some good energy. Feeling that in your back, upper back muscles, because they're going to help us a lot throughout this practice, especially for the balancing or taking the weight of our body onto our arms. And release. One last time. Take the arms down, interlace the hands behind the back, or use your strap if you need to. I'm going to interlace my hands, draw them past my tailbone. I'm going to lift the chin, lift the chest up towards the sky, but still try to engage the belly in towards the chest. And then come back to center. Release the arms. We're going to turn our head direction towards your right. Getting that side angle. And then towards your left. Just getting that neck ready. Drop the chin down towards your chest. And then lift the chin up towards the sky. Opening up the front of the throat here. Nice deep breath in, deep breath out. And then bring it back to center. One more time to drop the chin down towards the chest. And then bring it back towards center, lift it towards the ceiling. Just drawing those elbows back slightly, opening up, expanding through front of the chest. And then come back to center. Yeah, those shoulder shrugs all the way back. Be as generous as you want, right? You can bend those elbows and then come forward. Wonderful. And settle in. Working into a twist. So I encourage you to start to twist towards your right. At the same time you're twisting towards your right, you're just drawing your left hip flexor back. Extend your left arm towards your opposite knee. This top arm, we're going to reach it up towards the sky. So that back arm, reach it up towards the sky. Maybe look up towards that hand. Changing the direction. Release the back arm towards the mat behind you. Use it as an anchor to help you gently twist, but don't over twist. So it's just a gentle twist. And if it's helpful for you, you can also turn your neck and change your gaze to the opposite direction, towards the opposite shoulder. So turning your gaze towards your left. Soften your shoulder blades down your back. And then bring everything back to center. Let's take 2 sun breaths in between. Inhale, breath. Exhale, center. 2 more. Last one. We're going to take that twist to the other side. So it's going to come to the left. So we're going to gently start to twist our torso to the left. Extend your right arm across the body towards the opposite thigh or knee. Back arm is going to reach up towards the ceiling. Spread the fingers wide. Reach up tall. Lengthen your side body. Maybe look up. And then when you're ready, start to bring that palm as you twist the arm a little bit back towards the back. Release that hand down. See if you can find the mat behind you. And then just continue that gentle twist. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Let's change the direction of our gaze. Turning the neck direction, turning it towards the opposite shoulder. Towards your right. Softening your shoulders once again away from your ears. And then come back to center. Good work. Good stretch is always good. Nice twist in between, getting everything moving. One breath up. Back to your heart center. Last one. Inhale, breath. Back to our heart center. Release down. We're going to work into seated cat-cow. So for seated cat-cow, we draw the navel back, draw the chest back, reach the arms, maybe seeing if we can reach those fingertips and hands away from our legs and knees. Drop the chin down towards your chest. And then on your next breath, as you inhale, you lengthen, draw the elbows in, shoulders back, lift the chin and chest. Try to draw the chest forward. Exhale as you curl in. Inhale as you take some expansion, open up. Two more. Exhale as you curl. Inhale and lengthen. And again, think about doing this on your own time. You don't have to keep in time with me. So we all work on our own pattern of the inhalations and exhalations, but just don't overthink it. And come back to center. Two more sun breaths, reaching your arms up and overhead. Hands to your heart. Hands to your heart. Wonderful. So let's take, I've got the block underneath, so I'm moving my block out. If you've used a block, do the same. We are going to start on our hands and knees. We're coming back to table position. So we're going to turn to table, spreading the fingers wide. You want to have your arms shoulder distance apart, spreading your hands, stacking your joints, shoulders over your wrist creases, and your hips are over your knees, and we're going to turn those toes under. We're going to work right into cat-cow. I often do not let a practice go by without incorporating cat-cow, whether you have standing and strength and balance, whether you're working for a flow class, any class at all will benefit from cat-cow incorporated into the class. We want to keep that spine supple, and we want to make movement into the spine. So here in this cat-cow, drawing your navel in, draw your chest up, pressing down through the floor, drop the chin. And then when you move through cow, drawing the chest through, drop the belly. This should feel really good at this point, beginning part of your class, warming it up. Two more if you can. And last one. Coming back into neutral table, we're going to work right away into some strength at this moment. We're going to come onto our forearms. So release your forearms down. We're going to interlace our hands. And again, if you need to pad up under your knees, please bring a blanket or jelly roll your mat up so that you can protect your knees. Coming onto the forearms, draw the navel in. We're going to extend those arms down and lift those knees slightly off the mat, drawing your navel in. You're maintaining a little bit of stamina here with the strength of your abdominals, gently pressing down your forearms into the mat and taking your gaze beyond your fingertips, beyond your hands, and then soften those knees down. So you're hardly coming off the mat, of course, because we're closer to the earth here. So inhale, breath, lift those knees, breathe in, breathe out. Starting right away from working into that strength. Strengthening up the arms and the shoulders. Exhale, lower down. One more time. You're going to feel this in your quads as well. Inhale, breath. Breathe. And lower down. Bring your hands back to tabletop position. Cat-cow in between to reset. Try not to let your ankles fall open. And coming into that neutral table position, working right into balance. So balance on our knees from table. We're going to extend your left leg long. Breathe and take the opposite arm. Reach it off the mat, looking directly down at your mat. Take those toes off the mat, coming right into extended cat. What I like to call Superman or Superwoman. So take it into a good breath. Don't hold the breath. And then soften down. Let's try the other side. Lengthen long, lift the arm and leg at the same time if you can. Draw the navel in, look directly down. Extended cat. Breathe. Exhale, soften. I'm going to try the other side this time a little bit more with some movement. Extend the arm, extend the leg. Toes pulling back towards your shin or your nose. And then on the next breath, we're going to exhale. Curl the elbow to the knee and then extend it long. Exhale, curl. Inhale, lengthen. We're going to do one more. Exhale, curl. Inhale, lengthen. Soften the hand, soften the knee. Cat-cow in between to reset. How are you feeling on this one? So this involves a little bit of core strength. So draw the navel in, find your flat back, extend the opposite leg long, opposite arm comes off the mat, lift, breathe, and then find that. Exhale, curl. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale. Inhale. One more time. Exhale. Nice length through the legs, through that front arm. Soften the hand, soften the knee, cat-cow. From here, we're going to draw those arms up, coming into a kneeling position. Take the arms up and overhead, arms down by our side. I'm going to turn to face. So, my knees are stacked under my hip flexors. Shoulders are over the hips. Again, you might need to pad up underneath your knees if you need to. You're going to stretch those arms up towards the sky. Extend your right arm down towards the mat or to a block if you have a block. Opposite arm is going to shoot out. Opposite leg is going to come out, side to the mat, reaching that arm up and overhead, maybe grazing side of your face. Either looking upward, or if it affects your neck negatively, then look down towards your hand. Bringing that arm back up and around, knee comes back. Let's do a sun breath. And hands to the heart. Take it to the other side. As you come down towards the mat, either to a block, to the mat, release, extend the opposite leg out long. You should be able to look down side of your body and see those toes pointing back at you. Top arm is going to graze the side of the head, reaching. So you're getting length from your fingertips all the way to that heel that's on your mat. And you can turn your head so you're looking down towards the mat. And slowly come back down. Release. Good sun breath once again. And hands to your heart. Good work. We're going to come back into our table position. This time, we're going to work our knees slightly back. So because we're working a little bit of strength today, right? We're going to spread the fingers wide. Knees are just slightly behind our hips. Our toes are curled under. And we're going to come into a slight little bend of those elbows. A little push-up, or the beginnings of what we're going to be doing is some working into our position of plank. But before we do that, let's start off small. So we're just going to try and keep the back flat, and then just slightly bend the elbows, and then come to straighter elbows. Exhale. So looking directly down at your mat, don't drop your head, and just slightly soften. Two more if you can. Back up, and last one. So you're going to feel this in your arms, so developing that arm strength, back strength. So from here, going to walk our feet a little bit farther back, our knees a little bit farther back, spreading our fingers wide. Again, pat up underneath the knees if you need to. We're going to move into a low plank position. So low plank, so I don't want everybody to do this. You often see that where everybody's dropping their hips and their belly, everything just collapses, putting a lot of undue strain and stress on your low back. So what we want to do is pull up, navel pulls up, almost like you're drawing your pubic bone up towards your navel. Turn those toes under, your elbows slightly softened, and then we're going to again just draw down, chest towards the mat, hug your elbows in, and then press back up. Exhale. Inhale as you push up. Exhale. Inhale as you push up. One more time. And again, please work at your own pace. If one is where you're going to do today, then one is perfect. So work whatever you can do today, and then come back. Let's sit back, hips towards our heels, just to take a little bit of break and release. Maybe taking those hips back, sitting into that child's pose. Release the arms, and a way to release some of the pressure off your wrists and your arms is bend those elbows and allow the hands to float back and rest on the nape of the neck, the tops of your shoulders. Just releases any undue pressure that you may have on the arms. And now just get ready to go again. You're going to come onto all fours, tabletop. Bring the knees together, turn those toes under. We're going to start to move up into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Savasana. So upside down V, press those hips up towards the sky, drop the head in line with your biceps. If you've never done downward dog before, great, then this is a great place to start. So you want to bend your knees as much as you need to. You want to keep those feet about hip width apart. When your head drops down, you're looking back towards your toes. Your tailbone is up. You start to pedal out through your heels. Almost like you're trying to coax those heels towards the mat. If they don't reach the mat, that's okay. Don't worry about that. You want to find length from your tailbone all the way down through the crown of your head. Gently encouraging the palms to press down into the mat and the shoulder blades move downward onto the spine. We're going to take a moment to look forward, bend through the knees, and start to walk your feet forward towards your hands. From here, we're going to move right into what we call chair pose, Utkatasana chair. This is strength on its own. Drop your hips. Sit as low or as high as you need to. Imagine that you're sitting on a chair or a bench. Draw your navel in, scoop your tailbone down, lifting your arms. If your arms can come up towards your either side of your ears, great. If not, keep them low. That's okay too. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Flat back, bringing your weight slightly forward over the balls of your feet, not onto your heels. Stretching your hamstrings and your calves. Exhale, sit low. Find Utkatasana chair once again. Draw your navel back. Okay, there's a string pulling back from your navel through the back of your body and just drawing you back. So the weight is more so in your heels. You can almost lift your toes off the mat. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift to lengthen, sliding your palms up towards your shins if you like. Shoulders roll onto the back. One more time, we're going to come into that chair pose. This time before we come into chair, we're going to take the arms and then reach them towards the back wall. And then start to sit low. Breathe. How does that feel? You can feel it in your quads. You want to try and alleviate dropping your knees in towards one another. Imagine that you have this block. If you have a block at home, I've got a block. Sometimes I put that block in between my thighs, upper thighs, and then it stops my knees from rolling in towards one another. So we're activating and strengthening our inner thighs. Exhale, curl. Halfway lift. Step both feet back into downward facing dog. Pedal out your legs. Let's keep it moving, working towards strengthening up through those arms and shoulders. We're going to come forward into a plank. So modified or full plank. We're going to take a breath, come forward into plank. Full plank, your knees are off the mat. Your shoulders are just slightly forward over your wrists. Modified, knees drop. Draw your navel in. Breathe. So I'm going to pull back up to full. And then from here, lift hips up towards the sky. Paddle out your legs. Feel that movement. Nice deep breath in. Deep breath out. Inhale, we're going to come forward into that plank. Again, slight micro bend in the elbows, drawing your energy inward. So you want to hug those inner thighs together. Draw the navel in. Slightly scoop the tailbone. So pubic bone sort of pulls up towards our navel. Helps to really engage the abdominals. You can also drop the knees. Press back up. Downward facing dog. Pedal up the legs. How are you doing? Not easy, but keep it moving, keep breathing, take a break if you need to. Even if you need to pause. Pause and come back. Either way, just see if you can keep engaged and keep working through the strength part of the practice. Let's come forward into plank. We're going to drop down. So exhale, you're going to draw those elbows in, start to bend the elbows all the way down. Release the belly, the feet, the chest, rolling the shoulders forward, roll them onto the back, and then we're going to lift up slightly into cobra. Hello, cobra. And then come back and lower down. Curling the toes under, transition back to downward dog, pressing the knees, coming into low plank, and then all the way up. Paddle out those legs. Let's take a break together, and that break will encourage the breath. So we're going to inhale breath in your downward dog. Exhale, let it go. Try that one more time. Inhale breath. Let it go. I'm going to come forward once again in that plank. Coming forward into plank. Shoulders over wrists, like micro bend in your elbows. Exhale, draw the elbows in towards your chest, lower all the way down. Top like a push-up. Release down, feet release. Shoulders onto the back as you lift up into cobra. Try not to put too much stress on your low back. How you do that, keep the feet pressing down into the floor. Scoop your tailbone. And lower down. Knees, toes, back to downward dog. Pedal out the legs. One and then the other. So continue to work through our strength. See if you can release your left palm away from your mat. Reach it diagonally across the body, reaching towards the opposite calf, shin, ankle. Probably might not touch it. If it does, great. Just reach, maybe looking underneath that opposite arm or shoulder. And then release that arm back down. Try the other side. Arm sweeps across, reach. Look underneath that shoulder. And then release that palm back down to the mat. Let's come forward into plank, modified or full plank. Please use your options. Release the backs of the feet, coming into cobra. Or those of you that are familiar, you can come into upward facing dog. That's pressing the backs of your feet into the mat. You're releasing your legs and your knees off the mat. Turn the toes back under, press back into downward dog. Everybody, melt down. Release the knees. Sit back into your child's pose. Bend those elbows. Stack one arm on top of the other. Take a mindful rest. Allow everything to release. Melt your chest, your heart center towards the mat. Your hips and buttocks towards your heels. And just breathe. Ready? Meet me back up in downward facing dog. Knees together, toes curled under. I'm going to take that right leg high to the sky as much as you can. I'm going to bend my knee, flex my foot. I'm going to stack my right hip on top of my left. And start to let that leg sort of fall open even further. Looks like I'm trying to kick my own butt with my heel. Try to keep your shoulders square to the front line of your mat. And then from here, we're going to start to stack and come square again. So that left hip drops down. So the left hip and right hip are in line. Extend that leg long. And then lower the toes down to the mat. You're going to melt those knees. Take a nice wide angle child's pose again. So you can take a familiar rest in between. Stack the arms. This time, change the arm. So whatever arm was on top the first time, change it. Change it up. Long breath in, long breath out. How is everybody doing? Lots of work for the arms and the legs. Let's come back up. Meet me back up in downward facing dog. Curl those toes under. Let's take the other side up. So left leg high to the sky. Let's stack the left hip on top of the right. Bend the knee. Draw the heel in towards your buttocks. Flex your foot. Try to keep those shoulders square. How are we doing? Breathe in, breathe out. Start to bring that left hip in line with the right. Extend the leg long. Lower the toes. We're going to come forward into our plank. Draw all the way down towards the mat to cobra. Release the belly and the chest. Lift to cobra. Turn those toes under and back to downward dog. Good work, everybody. Getting warm? Are you sweating a little bit? I know I am. All of the work that we're doing with the hands and taking some good root into our mat so that we can keep strengthening up our shoulders, abdominals, and legs. Take that right leg high to the sky. Draw the knee in towards the chest and extend it back out. Draw that right knee in towards the right elbow or wrist. Extend it out. Draw that right knee towards the left elbow or wrist. Extend it out. Lower the toes. Taking the opposite leg up. Left leg up. Draw the knee in towards your chest. Extend it long. Exhale to the opposite elbow, wrist. Extend it out. And bring that left knee towards the left elbow or wrist. Extend it out. Lower down. Soften through the knees. Take the gaze forward. Let's walk our feet all the way forward. Root down. Rise all the way up. Give yourself a good stretch up. Hands to your heart. You're doing great. Amazing. Shake it out. That was a long stretch, a long strength that we did. So I always take a break in between. Here's my water break. Hopefully you have some water with you to stay hydrated. And I encourage you to take water breaks when you need to. It's very, very important. Okay? I'm going to continue on. If you have blocks, use 2 blocks. If you have no blocks, don't fret. Don't worry about it. But if you have blocks, I'm going to grab 2 blocks. I'm going to face this way, placing my blocks on either side of my feet, in the front of my feet. If you don't have blocks, no need to worry. We're going to take a moment to extend our left foot back. So our left foot back, toes pointing forward. So this is the beginning of our pyramid pose. So from here, toes are pointing forward and our hips are facing the direction of our toes. These are our headlights, remember that. So from here, slight micro bend of the knees, draw the navel in. We're going to tip at the hip. So buttocks back, tip at the hip. We're going to release our arms down. If you've got the blocks, then you try and bring your fingertips or palms to the top of your blocks. If you don't have blocks, that's okay. So I'll do without the blocks just in case those of you at home don't have your blocks. So you want to get some length through your hamstrings and calves. From here, you want to consider that you draw your front hip flexor. So that front hip flexor, which is your right, you draw that back so that you can bring the left hip flexor forward to square up those hips. You can drop your head. Try to keep your weight when they're on the feet so that your feet are not rolling out. You want to really engage your big toe mound of both feet into your mat. Length and long. Long, long breath. Step that back foot forward, take a bend in the front knee, root down, rise all the way up, stretch it out long. Hands to your heart. And do the opposite side now. Step the opposite foot back, so I'm not doing the same side twice. I'm going to square up your hips. If it's helpful, you bring your hand with you. Just gently guide that back hip forward. Start to hinge at the hips, draw the navel in, toes pointing forward. Reach our hands down towards the mat or towards your blocks. And then slowly try to keep the length from your tailbone through the crown of your head. And then when you get to a point of no return, just drop your head, let yourself go. Keep pressing your back heel into your mat. Big toe mound of both feet and a slight soften or micro bend in both knees so you're not hyperextending. And when you're ready, take a nice breath. Soften your knees, step that back foot forward, root down, rise all the way up. So strengthen that pose of pyramid, come back to your center. So we're going to work into our first balance from pyramid. So again, we're going to take a step back with our left foot. So step it back. Again, if you're using blocks and have them, they encourage you to have your blocks handy. However, if you're not using blocks, then that's okay. So I'm going to bring some blocks in. I'm going to square off my hips, hinge at the hips, come forward into that position of flat back. And this might be all that you're going to do today, is just balance from here. And when you balance from here, maybe even bringing your weight slightly forward over your front foot. Slightly micro bend that front foot, and then flex the toes of the opposite back foot so you can find some length and lift it off the mat. Try to square off your hips and lower back down. Step it forward, root down to rise all the way up. Hands to your heart center. Way to go. Let's try the other side. So we're working towards our position of warrior 3. So step back with your left foot. Going to hinge at the hip. From here, reach for your blocks if you've got the blocks. They're handy. They're going to bring the earth closer to you, and they're great for your stability. You want to draw your navel in. Again, move your weight slightly forward beyond your toes. Slightly micro bend your knee to soften, your front knee. I'm going to move the blocks. If you're using blocks, stay with your blocks. Back foot is going to come off the floor if it can. Try to keep your hips square. Toes pull back towards your shin. If you're able, your arms can either come out like an airplane, your arms can come forward in front of you. Breathe, breathe in, breathe out. If you fall out of it, that's okay. It's not easy. Standing strength involves some core work, abdominal work. Step that forward foot in, root down, rise all the way up. Hands to your heart. Stay exactly where you are. How'd you do? Not easy. So the thing about balance is sometimes we get caught up in, I didn't do that well enough. And you want to try and be perfect at all things. And sometimes that's just not the case. And it's like that in life, not just on the mat, but off the mat. So be kind to yourself, keep trying, and encourage yourself that just that little bit that you may have done was awesome. So always think about that whenever you're working towards your balance. So let's try another one if you're ready. So we're going to work to tree. If you're familiar with tree, we're going to have our feet directly forward. We're going to peel off. We're going to bring our hands to our heart center. Let's start with a nice clearing breath. Inhale breath. Hands to the heart. We're going to peel off our right foot. Just the heel. Turn that knee out. And just kickstand. This might be enough for you today. So your ball of the foot is in the mat, and your toes, and your heel is resting against the opposite ankle. Scooping your tailbone down, engaging your core, drawing your tailbone under, and pressing gently, palm to palm. Now, if this is enough for you today, that's great. I also encourage you, if you need to, you bring in a chair for balance or use the wall for support. It's very important to know your own limits. So you can be here. If you want, you can take your foot to your calf. That's a great place to be. You want to bypass your knee. If you want, you can come all the way up, bypassing your knee. You want to hug your standing leg into your supporting. Scoop your tailbone down. Breathe. Smile. It's not easy work, but balancing, finding your gaze, focus. Taking your hands apart if you like. Experiment. If you fall out of it, try again. It's all good. Fall down, you stand up again. Hands back to your heart. Draw the knee forward. Release. Let's let it go. Let's take a clearing breath. Forward fold. Let it all go. Halfway lift to lengthen. Exhale and let it go. We're going to take our thumbs, our hands up towards our hip flexors. Pull that flush back. So what that means is you draw the thumbs into your hip flexors, that crease there, and then just help to draw that back, that flush back, so you can lengthen the spine long, hug your elbows in, slightly micro-bend the knees, and I want you to bring yourself up very slowly, all the way up. Nice long spine, and then reset. So forget about the side you just did. If it was awesome, great. If you fell out of it, that's okay. You have side 2 to try. So let's see. You can always, if you're on really cushiony floor or mat, and you find some more stability on a hard surface, like your hardwood floor or a floor that's ceramic, you could probably use that as well. But again, use some stability if you need it, right? Turn the opposite. So now we're going to work the opposite. So our left foot turns out, left knee turns out. Bring our hands to heart center. Anjali Mudra. Scoop your tailbone down. And then take your option. Do you want it to be low? Stay low. Bringing it to your calf. Anywhere you go. Don't overthink. Just try. Again, if you're bypassing the knee, you can reach down, reach for your leg, your ankle, bring it up, placing the sole of the foot on the inner edge of your inner thigh. Engage. This will be helpful. Don't hold the breath. You're doing great. Maybe releasing the arms. Test your balance, but in a helpful and mindful way. Finding balance and strength off the mat and on the mat. Bring your hands to your heart center. Release, let it go. Take a breath You did a great job. I can sense that when you find balance on your mat, you find a wonderful place of strength within you. And that's really, really important, especially today with all the challenges that we face in our everyday life. Shrug out the shoulders. Take a moment. Good work. All right. Let's come back to the top of our mat. Take a good inhale breath. Forward fold. Halfway lift to lengthen. Exhale, fold. Step both feet back once again to downward facing dog. Paddle out those legs, one and then the other. Good work. For our flow, one final time. Inhale, come forward into your plank, modified or full. Lower your belly and your chest. Release to upward facing dog or cobra. Toes curl under, back to downward dog. Paddle out those legs. You're going to take that right leg high to the sky. Draw the knee in towards your chest. Step it through in between your hands. Release your back knee down or keep it lifted to a high lunge. Reach those arms up towards the sky. Create that strength. Knee tracks over your heel, your ankle. Again, squaring up your hips. Exhale, soften down. Step it back to downward dog. Paddle out your legs. Take the opposite leg high to the sky. Draw the knee in towards your chest. Step it in between your hands. Again, option is to drop the knee down or keep it lifted. Square up the hips. Find your balance here, your strength with your position. High or low lunge. Square up your hips. Exhale, hands to your heart center. And then release down. Step it back. Paddle out the legs. You're going to start to bend through the knees. Take the gaze forward. Hop, step, or walk to the front of your mat. Root down, rise all the way up. Hands to the heart. And let's widen those legs. Take a nice good wide stance. Going to work into warrior series. So we did warrior 3 balance at the beginning. Now we're going to continue with some warrior. So taking the feet parallel, outer edges of the feet in line with the outer edges of your mat if you can, and your toes pointing forward. Let's turn your right toes out, front heel to back arch alignment. Bend your front knee. Find that knee as it bends. Our knee doesn't roll in, it tracks back over the big toe. And keep that stability and strength in those legs. You're going to work into Parsvakonasana, side angle pose. So bending the elbow in, release the forearm to the thigh. Opposite arm comes up and overhead, raises the side of your cheek perhaps. And as you find this Parsvakonasana side angle pose, breathe. You can always look down towards your mat if it helps your neck. Lengthen. You want to get long, all the way from your back heel to the tips of that top arm, reaching up and overhead. Release that back arm back. Front arm comes up. Straighten that front foot. Turn the toes. Opposite foot turns out. Find Virabhadrasana, Warrior 2. Other direction. Reaching those arms long. Find all those alignment cues. Right? Try to keep the knee from rolling in. Breathe. Look beyond your fingertips if you can. We're going to come into side angle pose. Bend the elbow. Start to release that forearm down to the top of your thigh. Opposite arm reaches up and overhead. Long breath in, long breath out. What you want to try and aim for is getting some length from your hip flexor to those low ribs, all the way through the underarm area, so that you're not dipping down and releasing all your weight into your arm and thigh. You want to pull up, reach, lengthen, and more importantly, breathe. Come all the way back up to warrior two. Straighten that front leg. Turn those toes back in. Take a nice good deep inhale breath. And release. From here, I'm going to turn the right toes back out again. Working towards triangle pose. Both legs are pretty straight. Slight micro bend in your knees. We're going to start to release that left hip back. I call it typewriter hip. Release the left hip back. Reach and lengthen those arms up, maybe to shoulder height, and reach this front arm, same arm as the leg that's pointing forward, is reaching. Getting, again, length from your hip flexor all the way through underneath the ribs. And then from here, just start to hinge at the hip. Reach down, fingertips towards the mat, the shin, the ankle, or a block if you have. Opposite arm can reach up towards the sky. If you need to, you can always relax that arm to the top shoulder to rest it. Or some people, you might want to just wrap it around your back waist. Again, should you want to take any pressure off your neck, turning the direction of your gaze down towards the mat. And then we come all the way up. Use your core strength to lift yourself up. Turn those toes in. Turn the opposite foot and toes out. And from here, we'll work towards that triangle pose called Trikonasana. Back hip, typewriter hip, draws back. Lengthen your fingertips, get long, nice long, from your arm to your fingers, under ribs. Release that bottom arm down towards the mat, shin anywhere at all, top arm comes up. Breathe. How you doing? I hope this feels good for you today. Looking down, coming all the way up. Turn the toes in. Going to take our hands to our hips. Forward fold, wide angle forward fold. Stick the hips back, drop the head down, all the way down to the earth. Release the hands down to the mat. Take a few breaths here. Maybe start to notice how the legs are apart, whether you have to adjust them, bring them further in or closer together. And then slowly, slight micro bend in those knees, coming into that flat back. And then all the way up. I'm going to turn the toes out. So we're still wide angle, toes turned out. I'm going to work into a bended knee. So bending both knees. Try to track those knees so they don't roll in, but they keep pulling back over your big toes. Scoop your tailbone down. Take your arms up and overhead. Hands to your heart. 2 more breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Good. One more time. Inhale, breath. And release. Final strength for standing. Then we're going to transition down to the mat. See if you can find your pose here. Scoop your tailbone down, lengthen long. And then slowly press through the floor as you straighten up those legs. Turning the left toes around. Take a step forward. Forward fold. Halfway lift. Fold it all the way forward. Bring yourself all the way down to the mat. All the way down. From this position, going to take our legs wide apart. Scoop the tail, some buttocks flush out of the way. Flex your feet. Lift up nice and tall. Walk your fingertips forward. Find some strength. Last bit of strength with a stretch. Find some length. Walk your hands over towards your right. Bring your body more so over your right thigh, knee. Final stretches to the opposite side. Really important to stretch out your muscles when they're warm. That's the most important time to maximize your flexibility. Come back into center. Come all the way up. Take the legs together. Roll yourself onto your back. Draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a good hug in. Release your feet down to the mat, to the outer edges of your mat. Start to windshield wipe your legs from side to side. Let your arms come onto the floor, the mat. Just let them relax. Be wherever they want to be on the mat. Just windshield wiper side to side. Bring the feet back underneath you. Draw the knees into your chest. Give yourself a good hug in. Take your arms open into a T position. If you can, palms facing down. Your legs are together towards your chest. And just start to let your legs fall over towards your right. Take your head direction away from the knees, looking towards your left. Good stretch for the low back. Nice supine stretch. Bringing those legs back to center. Just change your direction. Let those legs fall to the opposite direction. Head moves into the opposite direction. Long breath in, long breath out. Bringing the legs back to your center. Give yourself a good hug in, and then I encourage you to set yourself up for final relaxation of Shavasana. Extend those legs out. Move any props out of your way. Moving some of that buttocks flesh. Roll your right and left buttock flesh out of the way. Let your legs fall open. Let your arms fall open. Rolling the right shoulder and left shoulder. Release and let go. Release any tension in your jaw if you have any, separating the jaw, the teeth, the tongue away from the upper palate. Soften around your eyes and let your body sink. You've done so much strength and balance today on your mat. Just let it all melt away. Let you be supported. Let everything go. Take these moments. Hopefully your eyes are closed and you're just releasing. Stay where you are and let it go. Taking your time to move through your fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. Encourage your breath back into a full body stretch. If you want to remain where you are for the time being, do so. Otherwise, take your knees into your chest. Give yourself a good thankful hug in. Thank your body for all that it does each and every day. Take your side to one side. Bring yourself all the way up to a seated position. Comfortable, eyes closed if you can, taking the arms up overhead, hands to your heart center. And I thank each and every one of you for your attention, your breath, and your openness to this strength and balance practice. May you move forward in your lives with that strength and balance off the mat as well. Namaste.